A popular Nintendo 64 modder gets hit for his latest Legend of Zelda hack by Nintendo. Oceanhorn 2 is coming to the Nintendo Switch much sooner than we thought it was going to be. And finally, will the Nintendo Switch outsell the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X this holiday season? Industry experts weigh in, and I want to share my thoughts as well. What's going on, guys? I'm RGT85. If this is your first time on the channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button. But without any further ado, let's talk about what's going on in the world of video games. So if we know one thing about Nintendo, it is that they are very protective when it comes to their IPs and their IPs being used in other video games. It's something that we've talked about before on the channel, and we've covered it honestly for years, especially when it comes to fan-made Nintendo games using Nintendo-related assets. Now, this latest takedown, however, is definitely a bit more questionable than some of the other projects we have seen in the past, involving an individual named Kaze and Manoir. Yeah, I probably completely butchered their name. We're going to call them Kaze for this video because that's how I read it. Now, I'm pretty sure we've talked about Kaze's projects before on the channel because honestly, they do some fantastic work, especially with Nintendo 64 titles. Games like Super Mario 64 have been completely transformed by this individual, and I've been subscribed to their YouTube channel for quite a while because I honestly love the work that they do. However, Nintendo doesn't seem to love the work that Kaze is doing, and now Kaze is in a bit of trouble. Now, the game in question is a hack that released over the summer called The Legend of Zelda: The Missing Link, which attempts to be a bridge between The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time and The Legend of Zelda: Majora's Mask in terms of the story. I know people who personally played the game and said it was great, albeit a bit short as there's not a whole lot of stuff that happens in between the two games, and the game was available for free on GitHub. Now when you head over to GitHub though, you get the following message about this title. The copyrighted works are the video games in Nintendo's The Legend of Zelda franchise, including without limitation the audio-visual works, storylines, characters, and imagery used in The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time and The Legend of Zelda: Majora's Mask. Nintendo has reviewed the reported material and does not believe it qualifies as fair use of Nintendo's copyright-protected work. So where do I stand on this situation? Well, you guys should probably know this by now, but I don't feel like it's a black and white situation when it comes to a lot of these fan-made projects. Is Nintendo well within their rights to do something like this? I mean, sure, obviously, they made The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask. It's their property, they own Link, Zelda, and all the characters within the game. But in the same breath, Kaze never sells their game hacks or anything like that. It's just strictly made for the community to enjoy these projects. So why would you go after them if there's really no profit involved? It's a battle that you can fight for sure if you're Nintendo, but is it a battle worth getting into in the first place? Now, Kaze has been looking at potentially fighting back against Nintendo according to Twitter posts, has been asking about lawyer fees and lawyer retainer fees and stuff like that, but obviously that would be a very long and a very expensive battle that I don't feel like would be a battle worth necessarily fighting for Kaze's wallet. I can understand why Nintendo can do things like this, especially with The Legend of Zelda 35th anniversary coming up, and we saw a ton of Mario related things like that Super Mario Battle Royale game and the PC reverse engineering of Super Mario 64 get taken down. So I get it, but once again, it just seems like something that could have been overlooked. Now Kaze is obviously on the hot seat, so I would expect these hack projects to slow down to a trickle or even at all because Kaze is obviously being watched by Nintendo ninjas at this point in time. And it's honestly a shame considering that there's no profit involved with the games that Kaze was creating, it was just strictly for the community. Now, where do you stand on this situation though? Is Nintendo within their rights? Should they have taken down this game? Or is it once again just a battle that Nintendo is getting into that they probably could have just overlooked? Be sure to let me know in the comment section down below. Next up, a game that we talked about a couple months ago or so on the channel that I was very excited for, and judging by the views on that video, you were also excited for this game too, was Oceanhorn 2: Knights of the Lost Realm. To say that Oceanhorn takes inspiration from The Legend of Zelda would be, I don't know, a bit of an understatement, but let's be real, that's not a bad thing, as we of course have a million platformers based on Mario, and Metroidvania became, well, a whole freaking genre. So a game inspired by Zelda needs to be a genre in and of itself. Now, the original Oceanhorn game came to the Nintendo Switch early in the system's life cycle, and it was a pretty fun game, playing a bit like The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past, but the sequel definitely looks a lot more interesting. Taking cues from 3D Zelda games, Oceanhorn 2: Knights of the Lost Realm definitely has some more modern vibes to it. and it was released exclusively on Apple Arcade, remember that thing, as one of its flagship titles. The game was confirmed to be coming to the Nintendo Switch, and now we have a release date for it, October 28th. Now the game will retail for $29.99, but starting on October 21st, you can actually pre-order the game with a 10% discount, which I will be doing because this game looks absolutely fantastic. Now the Nintendo Switch version of the game has been upgraded over the original Apple Arcade release to of course take advantage of the hardware of the system, and the game promises to be about a 20 or so hour long adventure. I honestly love everything I've seen so far from this game, and since, well, I'm never going to play it on Apple Arcade, I am glad that this game will be getting a shot on the Nintendo Switch, and honestly, it should be a great complement to something like the Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity game that is coming out in the month of November. Of course, we're not getting a Breath of the Wild 2 this year, so why not have more Zelda-style games coming to the Nintendo Switch? Now, there's no word on a physical release for the Switch version of the game, but I'm sure one of the many companies that does physical Nintendo Switch games will end up picking it up eventually, and this honestly is a game that I wouldn't mind double dipping on at all. What do you think about Oceanhorn 2 though? Is this a game that you have on your radar? Like I said, it's coming out on October 28th, about 2 weeks from now, so I'm very excited for it, but are you excited for it? Let me know in the comments down below. And finally, with new consoles coming out this holiday season, everyone is obviously very excited for these new platforms to be releasing because, well, it's new video games, and new video games are fun. Everyone is, like I said, very hyped about the new hardware, so much in fact that talking about cooling fans within these consoles seems to be like the hot news right now, which just absolutely blows me away. But obviously the gaming industry is very excited for these consoles, myself included, and there will probably be big holiday hits even though the launch offerings of these systems in terms of exclusive games might appear a bit weak, especially on the Xbox Series X side of things. But what about the good old trusty Nintendo Switch? How will it fare this holiday season? According to the NPD, which tracks video game software and hardware sales in the United States, not only will the Nintendo Switch sell well this holiday season, but it will actually outsell the Xbox Series consoles and the PlayStation 5 consoles. Matt Piscatella of the NPD Group said the following in a preview for holiday game sales. Nintendo Switch will be the best-selling console of holiday 2020. Switch will also be a hot holiday gifting item with more households picking up multiple Nintendo Switch consoles in the fourth quarter. The lack of availability of new PlayStations and Xbox systems will leave Switch as an appealing available option, although supply might be still difficult to find. And really, this should come as a surprise to nobody. We've already seen the massive struggle to get pre-orders for the Xbox Series X and the Xbox Series X and the PlayStation 5, with both of these systems launching in November. And yes, while die-hard gamers and new tech connoisseurs such as myself, and probably you, will want these systems on day one or as soon as possible, let's be realistic. Most of the games that will be available on this new hardware are also releasing on current gen platforms, Demon's Souls Remastered and Godfall aside. But there's even rumors of a PlayStation 4 version of Demon's Souls potentially coming, and Godfall is also on the PC. The Nintendo Switch has a huge game library already, with tons of exclusive games, and it already has a stout 2021 lineup for the first few months of the year, as we talked about in yesterday's video. Make sure you guys go check that out. And it of course has a slight edge in the manufacturing department. Now, all three branches of these systems will sell extremely well this holiday season, as video game consoles tend to do, but I fully agree with Matt in saying that the Nintendo Switch will be the best selling of them all, due to a stout game library already available and the fact that it will probably have more systems readily available. I feel like every console is in a good place this holiday season. They'll be flying off the shelves, but at the end of the day, I fully expect the Nintendo Switch to be the best selling of them all when it comes to the Nintendo Switch and the Nintendo Switch Lite. Alright, so that is going to do it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Be sure to let me know what you think of everything in the comments section down below. What do you think about Nintendo taking down The Legend of Zelda: The Missing Link hack for the N64? Do you agree with what Nintendo did, or do you think that they could have just overlooked it and went about their merry way? Oceanhorn 2, are you excited for this game? Because I sure as hell am, and I hope it doesn't disappoint. And finally, this holiday season, which console do you see coming out in top as far as holiday sales are concerned? Because I mean, it's going to be the Nintendo Switch, let's be realistic. And as always, guys, thank you for checking out this video. If you are new to the channel, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications. Check out other videos on the channel as well. We had a couple videos that didn't do all that great. Take a look at the Halloween-inspired Nintendo Switch games that you should be playing video, and of course the 2021 outlook for the Nintendo Switch that we put up yesterday, because I think it's a pretty good video. And as always, I'll catch you guys on the next one. Later.